Now, I don't get excited about much, but boy do I ever get excited when I buy something new off of Marketplace. I picked up another sea can yesterday, so now it's time to get that unloaded. That's always an interesting task. That is right, I did buy another sea can. I already have one. There's another 20 footer, just got cheap on Facebook Marketplace. And I like using these as tool and auto part storage. You know, you put some of your extra tools in them, mobile workshop kind of thing, or just dry engine storage. That's pretty secure because that's pretty hard to break into, especially if you put a good quality lock on it. I've learned from unloading previous ones how to do it because they like to snag and not come off the trailer. So I'm gonna use the picker, lift up that end, put a piece of well rod underneath as a roller, and probably underneath the middle, and then it should drag off pretty nicely without snagging on anything. I'm sure you're wondering why I wouldn't just use the crane, pick up the sea can, drive the trailer out from under it. Now, it is a 7,000 pound crane, and an empty sea can only weighs 5,000 pounds. So in theory it could pick it up, but that would be pushing it, and because the sea can is so big, I can't, and how high it is, like how high up it is being on the trailer, I can't really reach out and be still close enough to it, to the truck, to be within that 5,000 pounds, because as soon as your outrigger is out very much or you're lifting out very far, your lifting capacity goes right down. So it would be really pushing it to lift up the entire weight of the sea can with it, and then I have no real maneuverability with the picker itself because of how long the sea can is, because it's, as the sea can being 20 foot, center foot of it out, it has to be, you know, like 10 feet out from the truck. It really just doesn't work to lift something like that. It could do it, and honestly to like lift it up to put blocking under wouldn't be too big of a deal. But something like this, especially with the wind right now, if I were to pick it up from the center and drive the trailer out, a breeze would likely spin the sea can around and smash my windows out of my truck or something like that. So it's a fair bit safer just to do it this way. Dragging it off is pretty easy, honestly, and it doesn't wreck anything, and there's really low risk. So that's just the way I'm deciding to do this. And just exactly how I thought it would be, the bottom, one of the cross members of the container caught on the D-ring on the trailer. I honestly need to just go ahead and chop those off. I don't use them anyways, and every time I've drug something on or off of this trailer, honestly, it's snagged on those D-rings. So it's a lot easier if I just remove those and get them out of the way. Luckily I have the crane though, so just lifting up the one end and pulling the trailer out from underneath it was no big deal. Now, I do really like using sea cans for storage space, but the only problem I have with them is you can't get a vehicle in them. The walls are all metal, so it makes hanging up things interesting. You can always build like a wood structure for a workbench and, you know, put some boards on the ceiling or just weld metal on it is what I normally do. But it's a very secure toolbox and work area. You can't drive a vehicle into it, but that's okay, because I would like to get one of those kits where you put two sea cans next to each other with like 20 foot in between and put a big roof arch over it as a big shop, or at least covered work area. Now that my wife washed this sea can out, I can see, you know, the paint's not in very nice shape, so I might go ahead and coat this all with some white or very, very light gray primer or just paint to kind of clean it up, make it look a bit better. This here is the condition of my current storage sea can, just tools and auto parts and weed eaters. Sea cans also, they have a pretty good floor, you know? Like, it is just wood, but it's nice and flat. It's not concrete or anything, but it does its job. And it's always laminated plywood, which is pretty tough. You can get sea cans pretty cheap when they're done smuggling immigrants into the country with them. This crane truck sure is coming in handy. I don't know what I'd do without it. Probably not a lot. These sea cans are definitely not new. You can see someone patch the roof right there. And over here you can see that somebody actually lifted something up too high in it and dented the roof up. There's a little bit of springiness to it. That's not a big deal. It doesn't affect its ability to keep the rain out and doesn't make any difference to me. Now, it might affect the structural integrity of the sea can, but that's not a big deal to me because I'm not transporting it. And if it's getting moved, it will be empty, not full of cargo. One of the things I really like about sea cans is like when people reuse them and build like tiny homes and stuff like that. If you know anybody who's built like a big shop or a tiny home out of these sea cans, let me know. I'd really like to, you know, pick their brain on how they went about it. I have a lot to do around the property before snowfall, which is gonna be here before we know it. So there's this old metal framework. It's about 22 foot long, maybe 6 or 7 foot wide, but it was for what I think was a dock on the property. Anyways, it's all made out of 4-inch weld pipe, and I don't have a use for it because I'm gonna build a new dock but make the frame out of wood or something different. So I'm actually gonna cut this up and use it as gate posts because I need to install a couple gates, make the yard a bit more secure. So I just gotta drag this back out from by the pond where it was, put it on the trailer and bring it to the garage so that way I can chop it up. This is honestly about the only time I ran into any actual trouble with this crane, is when I'm trying to lift something over 20 foot long. It is a little bit long to drag around. It'd be nice to have an extra extension, which I might try and find for this, because if I had another like 5 to 8 foot of reach, it would definitely be a lot more useful, since if I can't reach out and get in the middle of something to its balance point, I can't really spin it around from one side of the truck to the other. So I mean, like, this crane does have enough of a reach for something that's 10 foot to 15 foot long to sling that around, because it only needs to be 7 or 8 feet away from the center of the crane, so that's not too bad. But having an extra 5 or 8 foot of extension would make moving something bigger a whole lot better. There we go, now I can just drag that back into the yard. Okay, now that we have that drug out here, I just got loaded onto the trailer so I can bring it back to the garage to cut it up.